while you still have magic to support in so many ways, you're still going to want to spend your skill ranks wisely. Hello there everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. In the back, snoozing peaceably, is my most adorable co-host Finn, apprentice storyteller and initiate to the first circle of lore. Today we are going to be going over the first edition Pathfinder Arcanist skills. Now, skills is an interesting area because as an arcane full spellcasting class, like wizards and sorcerers, you don't get a whole lot of skill ranks from the class features itself. You get 2, but then you add in your intelligence modifier each and every level. So since you're sitting with a good intelligence score, you're actually not doing too terribly. Not as good as if you were in other classes though. So if you're following this guide, you'd be looking at 5 skill ranks each level. And given the number of skills that you have available to you, particularly through the knowledge skills, you're gonna want to take a little bit of time to plan out and think about where you want to apply your skill ranks. Now, Pathfinder does feature some additional rules that help, such as any class skills that you put a rank into, you get a one-time miscellaneous +3 modifier thrown in on top of it, so you can afford to spread your skill points around just a little bit more and not feel too much of a sting from it. Though, if you decide to build an Arcanist that's a human, you're getting an additional skill rank per level, so you'll be looking at 6 per level instead of the starting 5. But given the fact that this is such a flexible class in terms of the spells it can cast, the kinds of features it can pick up through its arcane exploits, taking some time to plan things out ahead of time is going to be very beneficial to you, especially since certain feats are going to have skill requirements. There's a couple of meta magic feats that come to mind, so depending on what it is exactly you're wanting to do and how you're building your class, that's going to help to dictate which skill ranks you need to apply to which skills. But beyond that, just bear in mind with this video, as with any other video I make here, this is just a guide. There are so many different ways of building each and every class, and this isn't even going to be the most optimal way to build it. You're a full spellcasting class to begin with. You can get away with being a little bit less than optimal in many cases and still perform really well, probably still head and shoulders above most other classes. But before we get into talking about your skills today, if you're new here to the channel, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on that incredible roster of legendary heroes, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. But now, let's start digging into this here. So, to kick things off for us, going in alphabetical order, we have Appraise. This does work off of your intelligence, which is going to be one of your best scores to begin with. This allows you to identify the value of different items and if they're magical. Also allows you to detect counterfeit items. Overall, you're probably safe skipping this, though there have been arguments that have been pretty persuasive to me for ranking this a little bit higher. I'd say overall, given the dearth of skills that we have to pick through, this is one that is pretty comfortable in terms of skipping, especially since you're going to have magic that helps you assess whether or not something's magical, counterfeit, etc., all of that. Next is Craft. Now this applies to any of the crafting skills, blacksmithing, weaponsmithing, armorsmithing, basket weaving, woodworking, making bows, fletching arrows, all the different skills that you could think of. Crafting works off of your intelligence score, so if you do decide to go this route, you're going to be sitting pretty comfortable there overall. It's just, with crafting, I would say that take it if nobody else in your party is doing it and you're looking at going in and doing a lot of the item crafting, magic item crafting for yourself and the rest of your party. Because then you're going to not only save a lot of money, but potentially have an avenue for making some money too, depending on where exactly it is you set up shop at. Then we have Fly. This lets you make flying checks, maneuverability, making your way through the air, performing aerial maneuvers and stunts. This works off of dexterity, which is still going to be a good score for you. Early levels, you probably don't have to worry about putting much into this, if anything at all, but by the time you hit about level 6 or 7, that's probably when you're going to want to start investing a little bit more regularly into this. Even throwing a single point in, if you have, say, a 14 dex, you're looking at a +6 to your flying score overall. 1 from the skill rank, 2 from the dexterity, and then that +3 miscellaneous modifier. But then after that, start putting in some regular points so that way you can stay light, maneuverable, and nimble up in the air above. Then we come to our first knowledge skill, Knowledge Arcana, also going off of intelligence. This lets you identify magic beasts, dragons, constructs, ancient mysteries, and arcane symbols. This is going to be an incredibly useful skill for you, is going to be right up your alley, definitely something that you should grab regularly and fairly often. Next is Knowledge Dungeoneering, another one that is going to be really useful for most campaigns, though if you're in a cityscape and your DM's made it pretty clear that in most instances you're not really going to be going into the underground in any way, shape, or form, then it's something you can comfortably skip. But this lets you identify aberrations, oozes, also used for caverns and spelunking. So aberrations and oozes are still going to come up even if you're not in frequent underground environments, but this is where your DM being willing to give you a little bit of a heads up can be useful when it comes to applying skill ranks. So communicate with your DM and you should still be okay. Next is Knowledge Engineering. This is another one that is comfortable to skip unless it is specifically relevant to the campaign and somebody needs to pick it up. Again, this is a situation where your DM will probably give you a little bit of a heads up on it, but this is used for buildings, bridges, etc., and technological objects as well. So identifying structural weak points or places that need to be shorn up. Whatever the case may be, you can apply engineering to things relating to buildings, bridges, construction projects, etc. Then we have Knowledge Geography, another one that's probably not a terrible grab, at least if you throw 1 point into it, but more often than not, your magic is going to be more than sufficient for helping you navigate through whatever might be related to this skill. This covers astronomy, lands, terrain, climate, peoples of those lands. So it's their general geographical knowledge, different tribal migrations for non-sedentary tribes, people that have populated different regions, the celestial bodies that you see up in the heavens above, the different constellations that can be found. Next is Knowledge History, one of my favorites, but not always relevant through a lot of campaigns. In fact, this is one that's more often than not going to be pretty comfortable to skip, but this covers city foundings, major events, and wars. These get relevant in the kinds of campaigns I run, so my players tend to pick it up, but I also recognize that I am strange, weird, and get really detailed into things, and not everybody is going to really necessarily be worried about that. And even then, I can comfortably say that even in the campaigns I run, this is not always a relevant skill. So if it's relevant to the campaign, absolutely dump points into it. If it's not, then you're going to be pretty safe in skipping it. And again, you're going to have magical options that can help to fill in the gaps around this skill, or that this skill would have covered, rather. Then we have Knowledge Local, which is going to be generally useful overall. This covers laws, customs, legends, and humanoid creatures. Humanoids is probably the most relevant part, but Knowledge Local is going to be pretty handy for dealing with laws and customs and things like that, or delving into legends, especially if you compare that with Knowledge Arcana, and Knowledge History also. But getting out of step there. But yeah, this can be a pretty good one to pick up, but maybe not something that you as heavily invest in as, say, Knowledge Arcana. Same for Knowledge Nature, though this probably is like a slight step above Knowledge Local. This covers fey creatures, animals, monstrous humanoids, vermin, plants, and weather patterns, things that are nature related overall. And so Knowledge Nature is going to be one that is pretty good to pick up. Definitely a step above Knowledge Local, but not quite as good as, say, Arcana. Then we have knowledge nobility, also working from intelligence like the rest of the knowledge skills. This is knowing about royalty, their heraldry, their personalities, the bloodlines, etc., things like that. This could even cover the feuds between noble families and these different bloodlines. And again, it's something that also ties in pretty nicely with knowledge local, knowledge history. This could make for a decent substitute skill in those instances, but just, give it a little bit of thought. But again, another one that's pretty comfortable to skip, maybe throw 1 point into it just so somebody knows something, though if there's a bard in your party, this is probably going to be pretty comfortably covered at that point. Then we have knowledge planes, definitely a must-have in picking up, knowing all the planes, their magics, and the outsiders that dwell within there. So this will give you information on the hazards of the different planes, the benefits that could be found there, the different outsiders that live there is definitely relevant knowledge, especially since this is going to help you identify their strengths, weaknesses, abilities, things like that. So this skill is definitely very, very useful, especially mid to late level campaigns. Then we have knowledge religion, which seems to always come up as being useful across multiple DMs, multiple campaigns. This covers religious customs, deities, holy symbols, also identifies the undead as well. So another great grab for you to get. Then we have linguistics. This is another skill that's a pretty comfortable skip overall. This allows you to learn languages, so you invest a rank into this, you pick up another language, and create or detect forgeries. I would say let the bard or rogue or, investigator, vigilante, let them do this, because again, as far as language goes, you have access to all different kinds of magic to help circumnavigate that particular skill issue, and for creating or detecting forgeries, I'm sure you could conjure up a magical solution on your own as well. But to help with all of that, we have Spellcraft. This lets you learn spells from spell books, identify spells being cast, craft magic items, identify magic item properties, stuff like that. So Spellcraft is definitely going to be something you want to invest in. Even if you're not getting involved with the crafting of magic items, you're still going to want to identify magic items, learn spells, identify the spells being cast, and knowing whether or not you really need to throw down a counterspell or use your counterspell exploit. And lastly, we have use magic device, working off of your charisma, which, depending on how you're building, if you're building where you're leaning more into your exploits and needing to have more regular access to them, especially boosting their save DCs and numbers of usage, then your charisma score is probably pretty good. But if you're tanking it a little bit, then use magic device may not be as useful working off of charisma, and then you're going to want to pick up the trait pragmatic activator, so that way use magic device works off of your intelligence score instead. But this lets you read a spell or activate a magic item as if you had the spell ability, class features of another class, the different race or ancestry, or different alignment. So you're essentially tricking the magic item into activating for you if you don't normally meet the requirements for activating it. And that helps to greatly expand your capabilities in a variety of situations: combat, social, skill-based, whatever the case may be. Use magic device is so preeminently useful. It is worth grabbing, and even if it's worth using a trait to grab it if you're going to tank your charisma and have your intelligence apply to it instead. So definitely one worth picking up. And you can see here with so many different skills that are definitive must-haves, that 5 skill ranks a level, even spreading the skill ranks around a little bit, are not necessarily going to cover everything and allow you to max everything out. So you're definitely going to want to plan and work things out. Definitely coordinate with your party as well too, because as I mentioned with linguistics, if you have a bard or a rogue or whatever skill-based class necessary that can go into this, maybe have them actually flex into the linguistic skill, so that way you can make sure you have your skill ranks freed up for other things. Work with the bard to find out which knowledge skills they're going to cover and which ones you're going to cover. They do get significant bonuses to many of their different skill checks, but coordinating with them will allow them to max out their skills that you're not covering, and then you can more readily max out the skills that you're covering. So that way, everybody's able to kind of complement each other's strengths and weaknesses. So that kind of coordination is definitely going to be beneficial. But overall, with this roster right here, and especially with the magics and the arcane exploits that you have available to you, you're definitely going to be in a pretty comfortable spot, even if you're not necessarily coordinating, if you're building your character more as, hey, this is my character, their personality, this is how I've envisioned them, and you're just kind of working with the rest of the party that way, and the rest of your party's on board with it, you're going to be fine more often than not. And even if things turn out badly for the party, you're probably having a hell of an adventure the whole way through anyways. But let me know your thoughts. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below so that we can try and engage in discussion. If you've made it this far, you must have enjoyed something, so why not go down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamers Den. But with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your Master of Lore and Storyteller Extraordinaire. That has been my sleepy, most adorable co-host, Finn. Apprentice storyteller and initiate to the first circle of lore. Thank you all so very much for your time. Good gaming to you all. And you all have yourselves a good night.